Okay, so here is some more examples of public and private in different packages. Private modifier restricts access to within a class. Default modifier restricts access to within a class. The public modifier enables unrestricted class. Right, restricts access. The default modifier restricts access. So the default means you don't give any modifier, public or private, and then it goes based on that generally works out to be what we call package level access. Meaning that everything within the same package can see the date, can see it, but outside the package it can't. It's generally not recommended that you use that. It's not recommended that you like assume anything. The recommendation is that you follow rules of encapsulation, and rules of encapsulation are that data is private, and you declare it as private. Access to it is controlled. I can do the same thing in set license number. It's an int. I can say um, you can't have a negative license number. I can say if license is greater than 0, go ahead and assign the license number. All right, so that's encapsulation. There's rules. In object-oriented world, properly done, there are rules that you have to follow. Right? This is a rule. Got to be greater than 0. So not access is private memo and it's okay, however, if the object cleared in its own class shown. Not sure what they mean by that. Yeah, that can't work. That won't work. Why should fields be private? To protect data. To make sure that what's entered is valid. Right? I mean, if you're taking in a number and your rule is it has to be a positive number, or it's got to be greater than 21, or greater than 20, that's a rule. You're protecting your data. It also makes it easier to maintain. You have less issues with invalid data. So get radius, set radius. Right, so we did all these. Get numbers of objects. We haven't done that yet, but that's fairly straightforward. That's really easy to do as well. So we can do that. The only thing we're missing in our circle from theirs is where is it? Object count. This actually should have been at the top. I don't know why I put that there. Insert code, and we're going to insert a getter. Just a getter. And it does the other thing I don't like about NetBeans is when it does this all the way at the top next to the variable. I prefer to do it at the bottom. So now our circle is essentially identical to theirs. Passing objects to methods. Okay. So we talked about primitive types as passed by value, or copies given to it. And I kind of talked about objects that when you assign an object to another object, you're actually moving where it points in memory. With primitive types, you're actually creating a copy of that data and putting it into a new location in memory. It's like a photocopy of one page. Objects don't work that way. Objects are too complex to necessarily work that way. It's like wanting one page copied out of a book versus wanting a copy of the entire book. That takes too long. It's a book like War and Peace. It takes too long. So you give the book, the original book, to whomever you're lending it to, and you ask them not to mark it up, and you ask them to return it and be nice to it and all that sort of thing. But you're kind of trusting the person you're giving it to that they'll be good to it. That's kind of the way objects get passed to methods. We're not creating a copy and sending the copy. We're giving the original. And it essentially is that the reference of the object in the other method is to the same memory location. So, let's see if we have an example of that. This is a pass object. Let me see if I have that. Pass by value is pretty straightforward. You get a copy of it. And you know, this passing by, we're going to see examples of this when we get to arrays, because arrays are an example of an object, a complex data type. Talked about that already. And I'm going to go a little bit into arrays tonight, I think. And then we'll call it a night. So we'll actually talk about this a little more when we get into arrays. You can create an array of objects, and we're going to get into an arrays. An array is simply a list. And when you have a list of objects, you can do whatever you want with it. So you have 10 of them, for example, and then you reference them with a number. So, but we're going to get a little bit into arrays, and then maybe we'll circle back to this. Yeah, and we're going to get into a little bit of arrays. I jumped around because I wanted to cover this tonight so you'd be able to do Lab 4. And you don't need arrays for Lab 4. So when we get into arrays, I'll probably double back to this a little bit. Any questions so far? Okay.